Happy Sunday, viewers. I am going to read a few passages of scriptures and then I'm going to talk about it for a little bit. But hope again you guys are having a great Sunday. And I'm going to start in Luke chapter 22. And I will be reading verses 25 through 30 and then elaborate on that, okay? So it says in the book of Luke, and he said unto them, and this is Jesus talking, the kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and they that exercise authority upon them are called benefactors, okay? So the benefactors are the ones who's providing the finances, the resources. But you shall not be so. But he that is greatest among you, let him be as the younger, and he that is chief as he that does serve. For whether is greater, he that sitteth at meat, or he that serveth? Is not he that sitteth at meat? But I am among you as he that serveth. You are they which have continued with me in my temptations, and I appoint you a kingdom, as my Father had appointed unto me, that you may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom, and sit on thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. So Jesus was letting his disciples know, if you're going to be great, you have to be able to serve, okay? He's saying, who is greater, the person that sit at meat or he that serveth? So the one that's greater is the one who is sitting at meat. But he was saying he was among them as he that serveth. And this is the same spirit that we should have as children of God. And I've said this before in many videos, is too many shepherds of God's flock who, instead of serving the people, want to be served. Jesus said he was a servant among his disciples. You remember how at the Last Supper he washed their feet. So let me, to bring everything together, I'm going to go and read into Matthew chapter 20, verse 25, starting at verse 25. All right, so this particular passage is when actually James and John wanted to have the honor to be on each side of Jesus, and the disciples were upset about that because their mother had asked that of Jesus for her sons to sit on each side of him. So that's what's going on in this scripture. But let's in these passages of scriptures, let's look at the 25th verse. It says, but Jesus called unto him and said, you know that the princes of the Gentiles exercise dominion over them, and they that are great exercise authority upon them. But it shall not be so among you. But whosoever will be great among you, let him be your minister. And whosoever will be chief among you, let him be your servant. So what he's saying here, in order for someone to be great and to be chief, they should be willing to minister and to serve. And we can see in these times that's not the case anymore. Let me read on some more scriptures and I'll tie this all together. And the 28th verse, again, this is the spirit we should have. Even as the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister and to give his life a ransom for many. I'm going to read that again. This is Jesus talking. He says, even as the Son of Man, he was talking about himself, the 28th verse in the 20th chapter of Matthew. Even as the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister and to give his life a ransom for many. Now, I want to go into the book of 1 Peter chapter 5. 1 Peter chapter 5. I'm going to start with the second verse. Excuse me. I'm plenty of sleep. I don't know why I'm so sleepy. All right. Went to the early service, but I don't know why I'm still sleepy. It says, feed the flock of God which is among you, taking the oversight thereof, not by constraint, but willingly, not for filthy lucre, but of a ready mind, neither as being lords over God's heritage, but being ensamples to the flock. So many people want to have a church and be a pastor or be a first lady. What are you in it for? Are you in it for the money? You know, as he's saying, not, or you have so many people say they became, I hear many people who have become a preacher because they heard, you hear other people, oh, you should be a preacher just because, they can hoop or whatever. But let me tell you something. If God has not called you for such a position, that's nothing to play with. And that's a hard job. To me, the hardest job anyone could have is being a pastor. That's a lot of responsibility. You're dealing with a lot of spirits. It's a lot. But people just see the glory of it, but they don't see what true men and women of God, true pastors, true shepherds of the flock have to go through. And just reading about the life of Jesus. Jesus was a true shepherd, true minister. He cared about the flock. And this is what he's talking about when we look in the book of Luke, the 22nd chapter. And he's saying, we have to be willing to serve and to minister, to be an example to the flock. So I just wanted to share these scriptures. I read this many of times, and when I was reading verse 25 and 26, and again just breaking it down, when he said, I want to go back to the 25th verse in the 22nd chapter of Luke, where it says, the kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and they that exercise authority upon them are called benefactors. So a lot of times when people are giving you the resources you need, they want to control and manipulate people. And again, that goes back to like when people are given to charities. It's like nobody needs to know. Do what you do in secret. Because again, a lot of people, when they're giving money to charities, it's not because they really care about the people, but it's so people can think, oh, they're really helping the community. You know how companies give to communities because they want to have a good reputation. A lot of times people are doing things because it's about them. And remember in my other video, it's not about us. It's about Jesus. This life is not about you. And people want to be glorified in what they do. They want to have their names said out loud, or to say, have their picture saying what they are doing. But a lot of times it's for a write-off for these people. It's not about that they care about the people they are giving the resources to, but it's a good look for them. And I'm not saying that's for everyone, but when I was reading it, it's like, wow, these are the people who are the benefactors. And he's saying, but it shall not be so with us. He was talking to the disciples then, but as disciples of Christ, it should not be the same as these benefactors, because they exercise their lordship over these people. Look, I'm giving you these resources, so you're going to do what I say do. And that's not the mentality that should be taken with those who are overseers of God's flock. And he said, but that should not be so. But he that is greatest among you, let him be as the younger, and he that is chief as he that doeth serve. So what I'm saying is this: wouldn't it be a great look when one who is chief knows how to serve his people, and that's why I love this. When God asked Solomon what he wants, Solomon could have asked for anything, but he said, "I need wisdom," because he was young, how to lead your people, and God was impressed with that. And this is what I'm saying. So many people are in positions of leadership, and they're really not good leaders at all. Just because somebody's a leader doesn't mean they're a good leader. And how did you get into that leadership position? Was it because your family name or somebody you knew got you in that position? We know a lot of people in leadership who should not be in leadership at all. But when it comes to taking care of God's flock, God is real. God cares about his people. And those who are using their lordship in the wrong way over God's people will have to answer for that. But I wanted to bring this out again so we can evaluate ourselves. And even if we're not in lordship or in leadership, whatever, but as a child of God, what are our motives? What are we doing things for? Is it to please God? Is it to serve? Because again, Jesus said he came not to be ministered unto. So I just wanted to share these scriptures and just to get us to, again, evaluate ourselves and look at what's going on in this world today. You see people as benefactors with the resources and how they treat people who they're giving the resources to. So just some things for you to ponder over and to dig deep into as well. So I hope this was a help or maybe cause you to start thinking about some things. Love you guys and have a great Sunday.